friends, welcome back to the Photoshop Basics for Scrapbooking class. In today's lesson, we are switching gears and we're going to be talking about brushes and deep diving into the nuances of how you can use brushes in your digital or hybrid scrapbooking to create really awesome custom pages for your needs. Brushes are a little bit different from PNG files, and I'm going to show you more about that today. Again, we're not going to talk about recoloring because that's going to be in the next lesson. Today, we're just going to be talking about the basics of how you use them, in addition to resizing and changing the angles of the stamps for your scrapbook pages. So let's head on over to the computer so I can show you how brushes work as a digital stamp option. Hey friends, welcome back over to my desktop. In our video today, we're going to be talking about adding brushes, so stamp sets that are turned into brushes, onto a photo or onto a canvas. So first things first, let's go ahead and open up the image here inside of Photoshop Creative Cloud. Now, as we talked about a couple weeks back, in order to use a brush, you first have to load it into the Photoshop program. I've already done that for the exact same stamp set that we used last week, which was one of the Ali Edwards sentiment types of stamps, and we used a stamp that said, "Here for the photos." So I have this exact same stamp set loaded into my Photoshop Creative Cloud in the brushes menu. So what I'm going to do is go to my brushes tool here, and then I need to go up to this little file folder that has the paintbrush on it. From here, I can sift through all of the brushes that I have loaded into Creative Cloud until I find the one I'm looking for, which is right here, here for the photos. With that selected, I can close out of my brush menu, and now you can see the words "here for the photos" as an outline on my photo. If I were to do nothing else but just go ahead, leaf over where I want it to go on my photo and click my mouse once, it's going to go ahead and add the "here for the photos" onto my photo. It does add it directly onto my background, as we talked about before, so it's not a separate file. So therefore, once it is added or clicked onto my photo, I can't really adjust it in any way. Let's undo that. And next, let me show you how to increase or decrease the size. And there's a way to do it for the brush itself. And then I'm going to show you here in a little bit a hack for adding your brush onto a photo and having it be its own separate layer. So it looks and it functions very much like a PNG. So for the increasing or decreasing of size, you're going to click on the bracket symbols on your keyboard. So the bracket that is on the right hand side is going to make it larger. So the more I click on that, the larger it gets. Or you can do the opposite and click on or press down on the left bracket, and that's going to decrease the size of the stamp set. If you don't want to use the keys on your keyboard, you can also go up to the little down arrow next to your stamp set, and then there's the size meter, so you can increase or decrease along the slider bar. Right? So super big all the way to super small. So let's just kind of get it where maybe I want it. Sure, how about right there? So that's going to increase or decrease the size of my stamp. There is not, well, actually maybe there is. Let's try to angle it right here. So there's the little angle symbol. Right now it says 0. So if I were to angle it at 45 degrees, now my stamp is 45 degrees, right? Now for this, you kind of have to know what your angle is, whereas I don't really know exactly. You can also click on the little angle sign and drag to the left or to the right, almost like it is a slider. I guess that's kind of close to the angle of the street there. That's what I was shooting for. So then I can just go ahead and click in the sidewalk there. And again, the stamp shows up on my photo, but it is now part of the background. So how can we, let's put this back to 0. how can we make this function more like the PNGs that we talked about last week? To do that, what you want to do is create a new layer. So we're going to go up to Layer, New, and, if I can get it, and Layer right here. Or you can click on Shift, Control, and N, the letter N, or Command, Shift, N. This is going to bring up a pop-up menu that just says to name my layer. I'm just going to name it Layer 1. I want no color, which means it's going to be a transparent layer, and that's important. And then we're going to hit OK. So now I have this blank layer. So if I hide it, literally nothing happens. It's just a blank layer on top of my photo. With that layer selected, if I then come on here, click and add my here for the photos, I can then go back to the Move tool with the layer selected, and I can transform it just like it was a PNG. From here, I can increase, decrease, angle it, and change whatever settings I want to change on it, which is really awesome because sometimes you might add something onto your photo, but you're not 100% sure that you want that title or you want it to be that big or so on and so on. This allows you a little bit more customization on your brushes. And the nice thing about it is once your brushes are loaded into your brush menu, you don't need to go into your files to open it up. It's just already stored inside of Photoshop Creative Cloud. So you can use whatever stamp sets, whatever sentiments are in here just by looking at this menu right here. Again, I typically use PNGs rather than brushes just because personally I find it a lot easier, but there are some benefits to using a stamp versus, or using a brush versus a PNG. One of the biggest benefits of it is creating a repeat background or a pattern on a new canvas. Let's go ahead and do that. So we're going to open up an 8.5 by 11. I'm going to put this at a 45-degree angle so it is sideways, and let's just reduce the size a little bit there. So now what I can do on this canvas is I can simply click where I want my sentiment to go. Actually, I don't want that. I want this to go here. So we're going to click and add the sentiment onto the canvas here. And it's an easier way to make that background versus having to move a file over and over and over again, copying and pasting and having to position it, right? This is a lot quicker at creating those patterns. So for me, one of the only reasons I would use a brush versus a PNG is for this. It does get a little tricky when you get into the top here where it likes to, disappear on you. And for that, I would probably do the hack where I just add it to a separate file and then I can move it. I'll show you that here in just a second. I'm going to fill this whole thing in just so you can see how, that's not quite even, how quickly this comes together. It's super, super quick. Let's go there. And even if it is slightly uneven, it'd be really hard to tell. Like that. We're almost there. But this is me filling in an entire page with a repeated pattern. You can do this also with shapes. A shape would be a really great way. Okay, so let's go Shift, Control, and the letter N for a new layer. Yep, and let's just put that there. And we're going to free transform and move it so that it goes up in this corner because it did not like, let's do that again. It did not like free transform being up so high in the settings. It wanted to click over to that. Okay, so there we go. See, I filled in an entire page here. This is now it could be essentially a pattern paper or some kind of really graphic looking card where you could add a sentiment in the middle or some kind of chipboard in the middle. So cool, fun, quick, and easy. All right, so that is, in my opinion, the biggest benefit to using brushes versus PNGs. Let's go over the same thing over in Photoshop Elements. So we're going to open up the same photo. Let me just drag it in here to make it easy. And you can see I've already got the brush selected, but how did I select the brush? So I had to go to the brushes menu. For this one, I first needed to load in the stamp. So I went to the brush down menu, went to the little hamburger menu at the top. I said load brushes, and I clicked on the brush that I wanted to load in, which is what I've currently got, right? So the Ali Edwards Scrapbooker stamp set. Then I can select here for the photos, that's the one I want to use, and then I can put the menu away. So now you can see it here on the photo. We can increase it by using the brackets, just like we did over in Photoshop Elements, or sorry, Photoshop Creative Cloud, or you can use the size slider here in order to increase or decrease the size of your stamp. When you click, it's going to add it directly onto the photo. Or we can create a new layer, so layer, new, and layer. It has the same short keys as Elements, so Shift, Control, and N. We'll hit OK for layer 1 to be called layer 1 and it's transparent. Then I can click and add my stamp set on there, and when I free transform it, Control T, or you can go to Image, Transform, Free Transform. When we do that, it allows me to resize it, to angle it, to move it around and do whatever I want to do as though it were a PNG. Okay, so we're going to close out of that for now. And then the other functionality, so creating, let's make this not that small. Creating a new canvas or creating, let's say, a journaling card. Let's make a 3x4 journaling card with a repeated pattern, right? Now this is huge. So first of all, I need to significantly reduce the size. Then we're going to go ahead and angle the stamp. Now to do that here, you need to go to the brush settings button, and here you can see angle. So we can grab this and angle it. Let's go 45 degrees, or you can just put this in the box, 45 degrees. And now I've got an angled sentiment. So again, we can just click in order to create the repeated pattern. When you are adding your stamp sets, you just want to be careful not to click and drag because it will distort it. Let's go there. I'll show you what I mean here in just a second. And again, it doesn't like that top one because it goes away since it thinks I'm trying to click on menu things. So we'll just create a new layer in order to add those up there. Oh, and say, nope, we got it for the bottom. So say same for the bottom. Oh, yep, right there, it doesn't. So we're gonna go Control, Shift, N to create a new layer, hit OK. We'll just add it in there wherever, and free transform. So Control T in order to move it where you want it to go. Looks good. And then one more new layer, stamp it in there, Control T, and there is our super cool graphic 3x4 card, which if I wanted this to be all one file, I would then merge all of those layers together. So layer, merge visible, and now it's just that one file. Now if I, and this is the same is true for Creative Cloud, if I was creating a card and I clicked and dragged on accident, it's going to distort the sentiment. So if you notice that it's fuzzy, it's just because your mouse is moving when you are clicking down the button. So just try to keep it as still as possible. All right, so that my friends, is how you use the brushes inside of Photoshop Elements and Photoshop Creative Cloud. For your homework this week, I would love for you to pull open a photo in either program and play around with adding some of these stamps or the brush stamps onto the photo, and specifically open up some new layers and play around with that, how you can take the brush and turn it into something very similar to the PNG. Another thing I would love for you to do is to open up a 3x4 canvas, so the size of a little journaling card, and create a repeat background using the brushes. That way you can see the difference between how you would do that with a PNG, which is what we did last week, and then how you can do it with the brush and figure out which one you prefer for yourself personally. Next week, we're going to be back talking about one more topic with the digital stamps, and that's going to be changing colors. There are a couple different ways that you can change the colors of your stamps, so we're going to go over that next time, and then we'll move on to a new topic for the next month. Until then, I hope you have a great rest of your day, friends, and I will see you in the next video.